Hi, Matt. Matt, apologies, first of all, my camera's not working, but we'll plough on anyway. So, Matt, I spoke to you last year and we talked about the strengths of Rotterdam and the Championship. And obviously, Chieodozie was a big player for you in terms of what he gave. An elite sort of prospect. I suppose he was always destined to go to the Premier League, whether it was with you guys or with someone else. And how big is he to replace in terms of the dressing room and the character, the personality? And do you think he will be a success in the Premier League?
I do think he'll be a success in the Premier League, but as much as I talk about this level being difficult, the Premier League's another level on completely, even for Chio. But I always judge his international displays in terms of what he can add to any team at that level. So I do expect him to have his good moments. It'll be a difficult season for all the promoted teams, let alone Luton. So we'll see how that progresses. But I do expect him to be able to sustain a Premier League career from hopefully this point onwards. Of course, he's a big miss, not just in terms of his playing capacity, his personality, the age he was, how he was Championship durable. I know he had a few injury niggles at different stages, but he played at the level for long enough to know and understand that he understood his game. He had an incredible physical prowess and attribute, which really put fear into opposition defenders and backlines. He took us up the pitch. So, but the thing which I personally miss the most is just his presence around the place. He had a great smile. He has a great smile. He's a positive person and someone who people like spending time with, including myself. I like working with him. So, we miss Chio, but you can't rest on what's been in the past, and it's good recognition for the club that he's gone on to a Premier League level, and we've played a small part in his own journey, and we wish him the best of success. But irreplaceable, but we're still looking now to see who now becomes the next one, with people talking about him, with Premier League qualities, with people at a higher level than ourselves, even in this league, saying we want to take that player, we like him, we like what he can do. Chio, Dan Barlaser, Matt Crooks of the world, these players who've done that in recent times. So there's a group of players here who I think are capable.
Okay, and Matt, you face Blackburn Rovers this weekend, and obviously they lost their star man as well. Ben Brereton, Diaz has left Blackburn Rovers, and he was a thorn for so many clubs in terms of what he provided as well. So I know Blackburn are going to be a big challenge, but is it one less headache when you're looking at the team sheet against you and you don't see Ben Brereton, Diaz there anymore, 15, 16 goals a season midfielder?
Yeah, look, he was the guaranteed quality, wasn't he? I think it was a stat where, in terms of goals per chance ratio, he was, he blew the league away, and that's why he's got his move, and that's why he was worth that amount of money. But he was a good player. What a number of good players last season, this season at Blackburn. But that's the Championship. I could talk about Stokes' front line, causing me headaches and nightmares. But it'd be no different whoever we play against. Whether it's Blackburn this weekend, you go to Sunderland next week, then you got Leicester. It is non-stop, but that's the level we work so hard to be at, and we can't say it's a headache, we can't say it's a hangover, we can't say it's a nightmare. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for us to overcome, and if it's not the name of Brereton Diaz, then it's another name elsewhere, equally good and equally as efficient in front of goal. But I'm pleased that I'm talking about these types of players as opposed to, no disrespect to League One, we could have even been talking about a League One opponent this time round.
And you sort of, as a club, I know it's something that people label at you, that underdogs tag. Do you sort of revel at it in terms of when you sort of least expect Rotterdam, when people, the pundits, least expected Rotterdam always sort of pulls out the big results? Do you sort of revel in that when sort of people talk you down or talk down your expectations, or do you play no hesitation to what the public says when the start of the season, when people sort of look, oh, where do you think Rotterdam are going to finish for the year ahead?
Well, I personally don't really pay much attention to it. I've got my own opinions. I'm pretty stubborn in relation to that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, whether it's a pundit saying we're not playing well or we'll get relegated. That is their opinion. That's part and parcel of life. What we can't have is that affects what happens next. That can't cloud us in any way whatsoever. We know what we're against in terms of the challenge which I've spoke about, and we're enjoying it. We'll enjoy it this weekend if we get beat. Sounds strange to say, you always want to pick up points, but what a fantastic arena, a fantastic level that we're playing at, and I do expect us to have some sort of success this season. Hopefully it comes in a form of points and goals this weekend, but we're certainly taking the club or moving the club in the right direction. And everyone's opinion is absolutely fine. I have my opinion on other teams elsewhere, high up the ladder, other sports elsewhere. That's the beauty of it. The ones whose opinion matter the most are the players. I know they believe in what we're doing. They believe in what they're capable of. I certainly do. And I'm looking forward to seeing them produce over the course of the season, not just this weekend.
And I suppose that loan market, the sort of domino effect where we have sort of Premier League clubs at the moment are all sort of plotting coming into the last week or two of the market in terms of players maybe on the bottom half of their squads. Will they stay? Will they go? And obviously, if they stay, obviously that means they're sort of pushing down a younger player, a highly sort of talented player needs to go out and load in to get experience. If they're sold, then maybe that player is moved up along the sort of the ladder in terms of where he's seen within the squad. We saw it last year with James McEntee, and we saw with Bishop, and the sort of players that went down to the championship level. They had a massive effect. So is that what you're looking at, Rotherham? You're sort of looking at that sort of the market to maybe wait, have you one or two identified that maybe if certain jigsaws or puzzles come into place that they could come available?
Yes, but we have to be realistic. There's some of the names you just mentioned, even last season, let alone this season, they're not obtainable for us because they're a certain level of probably Premier League players coming down, and then the financial restraints for ourselves. I mean, we're not in that competition, but we're looking for good players, looking for players to come in and play. It's important that I reiterate this to you guys, let alone the Premier League clubs. These players aren't coming in to be squad players. They're coming in to play and to affect this team and to play Championship football. And that is, regardless of where you go in the Championship, that is an incredible opportunity. So that's something we're putting in front of people. Premier League season's not even started yet, so it's so difficult to see where squads are at and seeing where numbers are at and players are at. And I'm sure we're sort of a bit further down the line than just this weekend in terms of the domino effect that you spoke about. But we know what we're trying to obtain, and all we can do is put our best offer in front of these clubs and see where it takes us.
I suppose, Matt, I was speaking to Scott Brown, the Fleetwood manager there 30 minutes ago, and he made 2 signings there last week. He brought in 2 Irish players from the League of Ireland. He paid 80,000 for both of them in terms of 2 under-19 internationals for Ireland. Is the League of Ireland a good place to go shopping for teams in the Championship or lower half of the Championship or League One that want to come over to England? We've seen a good lot of players in terms of that have a good sort of effect. Do you sort of look at that market, or you think, no, Championship, that's a level above League of Ireland is not good enough for Championship, or that's only League One or League Two? Or do you think there's good bargains to be picked up? Because clubs in League One seem to be picking up players from League of Ireland maybe for 100,000, 80,000. They seem to be picking up players sort of. Do you think there's good value to be got?
Yeah, definitely. But even you mentioned 80,000, 100,000. That's still a lot of money for a club like Rotherham. So we have to be aware that if we are investing, then they've got to come in and play straight away. That's a big jump to make from that level to the Championship, but they can do it. There's been a whole host of examples who've done that. I think we're right in saying we got Georgie Kelly from the League of Ireland. I'm not sure of the numbers that were paid at the time in relation to that, but he's a player who's making that jump, and we're trying to help him on that journey. So there's a whole host of examples of good players who've done that. But whether he's coming from the League of Ireland to League One, League Two, the Championship, these lads have just got to play football. They have to have the opportunity to play football, and if clubs elsewhere can get these players on small fees or fees of some sort, then fair play to them. And we're not in that position right now. Anything we spend has got to come in and really affect the first team straight away. Not to say there's not players out there who aren't capable of doing that in the League of Ireland, but that's a difficult market for us to assess right now. We'll monitor it as we always do, but right now we're probably looking more towards loans from the Premier League for younger players.
And finally, for me, Matt, when you look at the division as a whole, I know there's some really good teams in the Championship, but I was just looking at the team sheet that Leicester City put out there last week, and there was not one player in the team sheet that was worth in value in terms of under 10 million. They're all 10 million type plus players in terms of that, the whole starting 11 practically. I mean, are Leicester City, if they manage to hold on to their remaining sort of key players for the remainder of the transfer window, they have to logically go down as favourites to go back straight back up?
Oh, that's a question. You're asking for me to talk about my opinions now. I think that the 3 relegated teams from the Premier League are are monstrous in terms of size and stature and the players they've got. So naturally they'll get tagged with the favourites tag, so to speak. But the money that's been spent elsewhere is incredible as well. I think there's another club in the Championship just signed a player from the Premier League today for undisclosed fee for X amount of years on a contract. His numbers are incredible. So it's not just the Leicesters of the world. I think the majority of the group, in terms of the league, where they need to be in terms of what they're spending. But that's more pressure on them. Luckily, in my job, in my position as Rotherham manager, I've not got that pressure of spending too much money and being held to account in relation to that. But one thing I am held account to is the pressure we put on ourselves to be the best version of we can be. One thing we can't control is what other teams spend and who's on the pitch when we play. We can admire it and appreciate it, but not be daunted by it, not be overawed by it. We deserve to be on the same playing field as some of these teams and some of these players, and something my players hopefully relish in the challenge for.
And finally, last question. Sorry, Matt, just one came to my mind. If someone offered you 15th place now come the end of the season, would you take it with open arms? Would you bite your hands off? Would you 15? Would you consider 14th or 15th to be a successful season for Rotherham?
Yeah, I'd snap your hand off for 20th, 21st. We know what we are at the level. Don't worry about that. We know what we are. And 15th will be where we're trying to get to in the next couple of seasons. Of course, it will be. But anything, survival based, I would snap both your hands off your arms, your whole body off, if you gave me that right now. And I think most people associated with Rotherham would do the same.
Okay, cheers. Thanks, Matt.
No problem.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers,
If it hasn't recorded, let me know, but it should be somewhere in your folders, so I can send it if not.
Beautiful. Cheers, Sam.
Thanks very much. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.